Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, we had witnessed some disturbing and even horrible events since 7th of October 2023 when illegitimate state of Israel and its brutal occupation forces started genocide, ethnic cleansing and war crimes against innocent Palestinians, especially in Gaza. No one stopped Zionist state regime till now that encouraged lawless occupiers to further attack Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and recently on Iran. Since June 13th, 2025, in Israeli brutality, many Iranian scientists, military leaders, and even civilians got martyred or either injured. Israel attacked on nuclear sites and missile batteries. It was Israel-US plan to neutralize Iran's peaceful nuclear program, particularly designed for the civil purposes, and also have the nefarious design of regime change. But both failed in their all-orchestrated objectives. While Iranian brave and extremely bold response till June 24th, 2025 turned Israel into a mad cow. Now US brokered ceasefire, which is fragile but still intact and continued. Here lots of questions remained. The first of all, the key question, what would be the ultimate behavior of a de facto Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, number one. The second is that whether Israel is going to respect ceasefire or not, because there is an ample history available that it was Israel which has initiated any sort of belligerent or covert action against all Muslim territories, particularly in Middle East. Now, another question, whether the peace will prevail, and what about the situation of Gaza, whether Israel is going to be the part of negotiation process under Qatar brokered and Egypt assisted talks which are coming soon. And also there are lots of questions about Iran as well. What about the retrospection from inside, because the first attack happened from inside of Iran because of Mossad, RAW and other networks there. Second is that whether Iran emphasized upon its air force and the air defenses, because that was actually the weak link, and whether Iran will go out of non-proliferation treaty, because treaty actually protects lots of signatory countries that they have all the right to pursue civil nuclear program or nuclear technology for the peaceful purposes. But unfortunately, that was curbed, that was actually pressurized by the West till now. And again, the International Atomic Energy Agency, its DG, Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi, he has written a letter to the Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, for having a space for dialogue. Now let's see what's going to be happen. There are lots of questions and we'll get answers of that. My first guest is from Iran, from Tehran. He is actually the founder and the chairman of Iqbal Forum in Tehran. It is a specialized think tank there, and he is serving Iran from the last many years. He is on Pakistan visit, and we are fortunate that he has given us his very precious time. Mr. Mohammed Hussain Baqeri, thank you very much, sir, for being with us here in the studios. And with him, Dr. Sajid Iqbal Khattak. He is the international relations expert. Thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us here. And online joining us, Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi. She is Mid-Eastern Affairs expert. Thank you very much. Okay, she will join us in a couple of minutes. So let's have a first question, Baqeri sir. In devastating response, Iran actually brought Zionist regime in Israel to its knees. That shown the firm resolve, thwarted the Israel's nefarious designs. But do you think that Israel will respect the current ceasefire between the two countries? As we had observed closely in the case of Gaza, that the Zionist regime in the actual is the actual spoiler of peace. They have broken lots of peace deals in between, particularly with Hamas. But due to extensive damage and destruction beyond imagination, Israel was actually pleading for that ceasefire behind the door, behind the curtain. And the US given a clear-faced saving to Netanyahu by announcing that. How do you see overall scenario?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First and foremost, I would like to extremely and sincerely thank you for inviting me to this very esteemed program. To provide an accurate answer to your question, I believe it is to be examined the history of brutalities and wars waged by Zionist regime. Since 1948, the Zionist regime has imposed 12 bloody wars with Islamic countries. And in each of these conflicts, it has violated the ceasefire agreement at least 5 times. I can provide you a full report on it because I just have it with me. To give you 2 instances, just 5 days after the initial negotiation and ceasefire with Hamas, they have assassinated Yahya Sinwar,
yes,
the Hamas leader in Palestine. 4 days after preliminary negotiation on the ceasefire with Hezbollah, they martyred Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. If you just count them, therefore the Islamic Republic of Iran, I believe that they would be very much careful that this is not a ceasefire, this is a truce. It would be a very cautious steps taken by Islamic Republic of Iran toward the, we know that the malign activities of Israel during all these from 1948 till now. So as of today, the Israel regime has been forced to accept the ceasefire, because the reality behind the accepting the ceasefire is that they have depleted their missile stockpiles, attempting to intercept each and every missile barrages of Iranian brave soldiers, penetrating deep into their economy and their territory. So I was just reading a Wall Street Journal actually piece today, and they have mentioned that in last 12 days, Israel has burdened $1.2 billion per day, only and solely spending on their military equipment. I don't believe this already fragile economy has any strength to such a prolonged war. So they forced to accept this ceasefire. But will they accept the ceasefire? Will they let it be intact? Will they follow the rules and regulation? Nobody can say yes, because they have a history of, breaches on the ceasefire.
Definitely, definitely. You're absolutely right. Dr. Sajid, after the recent events in Gulf region, where apparently Iran responded to the US belligerent act of targeting Iranian nuclear sites and breached, it is considered as a breach of sovereignty because of the lots of media releases by the Gulf states. But do you not think that the attacking US bases in Qatar and Iraq, although it was response to the attack on Iran, but also the violation of these countries' sovereignty, but also categorized as Iran's symbolic, measured and calculated retaliation, was it basically to manage the escalation ladder or actually to return to the ceasefire?
First of all, thank you, Faisal, for having me in your show. I think it was very clearly stated and announced by Iran that any attack on Iran from the US side will be responded by, you can say, form of force. And since we all know that Iran has no, capacity to directly target the United States, so the easiest and the shortest, target was the US bases in the Gulf region. But I think Qatar overall had a very positive role in the regional conflicts. If we see Qatar's role in Afghanistan,
Qatar has a very cordial relations with Iran as well, no doubt about that.
And their ongoing efforts for a ceasefire in Gaza, and this recent ceasefire between Iran and Israel. So I think Iran should have respected the overall positive, you can say, outlook of Qatar towards these regional countries. And another very technical point is that the United States has officially stated that we have managed those attacks directly from the United States without depending on our bases in the region. So this gives another, you can say an excuse to the United States and to the Iraqi leadership that if the US base in Qatar and Iraq was not used, then why did the Iran attack, you can say, the US bases in those countries? But you know, there is another aspect to this conflict as well, or these bases as well. In the recent past at the G7 summit, you can say we have seen that all the European countries have shown firm support to Israel right to self-defense, without, you can say, saying anything about Iran. So this shows that, you know, on the Western side, this whole Western world is united to defend Israel despite their reservations about Netanyahu's war policies and strategies. So this gives us, you know, a room or a space to the Muslim world.
It is unfortunately that West only think that Israel has the right of self-defense and not the other countries.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that the Muslim world should also tolerate some of, you know, and they should give some space to Iran as well, because Iran had no option but to respond.
Definitely.
Exactly. So I think
there was no question about it.
Instead of Qatar, you can say, raising this issue with Iran, I think they should give Iran the space the way the Western countries are giving space to Israel despite their war crimes.
Definitely, definitely. Unfortunately, Dr. Saira is not still with us. So, can I ask a question with you, Mr. Baqeri? Do you not think that first US entered the Israel-Iran war to satisfy Israel only, the Zionists and evangelicals, by attacking Iran's nuclear sites? Then when Iran responded to its military bases, it tried to stop Iran and Israel from further escalation. That was the plea afterwards. Through this, Washington actually played on all sides, tried to play it on all sides. But this had actually shattered Israel's campaign, number one, given setback to the Zionist regime of de facto Prime Minister Netanyahu, but a face-saving as well. How do you see that? Because it looked like that it was more a face-saving for the de facto Prime Minister Netanyahu.
See, if you just go back to the initial phases of the war, what United States and Israel were thinking about this kind of agile strike or somehow surprise attack on Iran was that by attacking Iran, within 24 hours, Iranian defense system, after assassinating top commanders and scientists, the country will be somehow decoupled, and the country would be in no position to retaliate. But when Iran, after almost 15 hours of the first initial attack by Israel, responded with such a heavy retaliation, and they understood that for every missile they are going to intercept, they have to spend almost $2.5 million, while Iranians are fighting maximum price of a missile would be $200,000. They understood that how big they have started the war and how deep they have just stuck in this quagmire. So I believe that for the first 10 days, United States was just watching whether Israel can achieve its main target, which was alienation of the, and dismantling the core government of Iran. But after watching all these responses, United States understood that if now I do not help Israel, then the Israel is gone. By the way, the invincibility of Israeli defense system, or so-called Iron Dome, has already shattered. So United States, and there is another factor as well. United States itself, when you go to the census, it shows that 75% of the people of the United States are against any kind of involvement of the United States in this war. The remaining 25%, only 15% agreed. And the 10% are the silent minorities. But why the United States, without having any kind of direct interest, just entered into this war? Because the main reason is the White House now has been captured by neocons and the Israeli lobbies. So I believe Trump has been under the siege with the neocons and Israeli lobbies to just save the Israel from, I believe, worst case scenario, which was the shattering Tel Aviv and losing each and every control over its somehow sovereignty.
Your point well taken. Dr. Sajid, what about attacks on Iran from inside? That was really surprising for most of the world, because when Israeli intelligence agency Mossad used locals, Afghans and the Indian intelligence agency RAW footprints in Iran to have sabotage and covert operations to attack Iranian vital military leadership and scientists, military installations, air defense systems, the missile batteries and all others. Do you not think that now, after ceasefire, Iran has to cleanse and neutralize its systems from such threats?
I think it was quite unfortunate that Iran initially failed to identify such elements in their internal setup, and I was reading somewhere that some 700 persons are already arrested by the Iranian officials who were suspicious of doing spying for Israel and the United States of America. And this was even, earlier when you can say the Hamas leadership was killed in Iran. That time even it was the internal spy network of Israel who were responsible for giving the you can say intelligence. I believe that it is the time. It is the this ceasefire is very fragile and Israel can violate it at any time. But during this time, Iran should be very carefully looking into you can say their internal arrangements and their leadership and the spies within, in order to you can say safeguard in case if they enter into a war again with Israel, which is very likely, because Israel's the greater Israel's agenda is very obvious now. Israel will not stop here. It was just a break, as rightly mentioned by my colleague, that it was just a break to because Israel was suffocated. So they will be preparing again, and Iran, as we all know, is the main obstacle against the Israel's greater Israel agenda. So meanwhile, Iran should be you can say trying to have a search operation within in order to identify all the spies and all those people who are working for Israel.
Definitely, very strict retrospection is needed there in Iran and from inside, no doubt about that. Baqeri sir, many analysts believe that Israel initiated war with a design to sabotage US-Iran indirect talks. Those were going on in Oman, and just the sixth round was at the doorstep at that time, to completely destroy or neutralize Iran's nuclear program. That was number one. Then kill entire Iranian vital leadership, create anarchy among the Iranian population, initiate a political change inside Iran, and install its puppet regime there to have its own say across the region, especially when it comes to Iran. But it's all reversed actually, and Israel lost the myth of being invincible. Its multi-layered air defense system, as you have rightly pointed out, about Arrow 3, Arrow 2, David Sling, Iron Dome, and even THAAD provided by United States, that system actually largely failed to intercept Iranian missile attacks and suffered huge destruction. So how do you see the overall core agenda at which the Zionist regime was working?
After initial successes of Israeli regime attacking to Syria, Lebanon and Gaza, I believe they have grave miscalculations. I would like to point three miscalculations that the Israeli regime had in their actually strategy and how Iranians respond to it. The first one was misreading the Iranian people's resolve. I believe that the false narratives of proxies and the Iranian opposition, some of opposition leaders living outside Iran, they have somehow make Israel believe that if we start the strike, the overwhelming and masses of population would just flood it into the streets to overthrow the government. This was their first miscalculation. So when you come to their response, you would see that Islamic Republic of Iran, more importantly, the civilized and courageous Iranian people, proved otherwise. See, Iranians have shown that if change ever comes to the country and governance, whether it is republic or monarchy, it will only come by the will of the people, not otherwise.
No doubt about that.
No matter how economically pressured they are, how politically dissatisfied they are, they make one thing very sure, that foreign aggression will be met ruthlessly and with the united resistance. So it was the first miscalculation about the resolve of the Iranian people. The second miscalculation about Iran was that they imagined like Syria, where a surprise attack could dismantle the core of the state. But you could see that even, we see today, even if all the commanders of IRGC or military are martyred, if all the scientists are assassinated, every soldier in Iran will change into a commander, and every student will change into a nuclear scientist. So this was the second miscalculation, and they got the response. The third one, which is also very important, it was the military miscalculation. Israeli thought that all these missile complexes and all these indigenous youth-driven defense system are a theatrical show, more like a cinematic illusion. But when within 12 days they have hit by 560 ballistic missiles, they now understood that the Iran is undisputed missile power in the region, and their supersonic and cluster missiles can easily penetrate inside the territories, crossing, as you mentioned, 5 different defense systems and so-called Iron Dome, and hit them very hard. So these 3 miscalculations and 3 responses that very timely Iranian people have shown to Israel made these all calculations go wrong. And now Israel has, somehow I could believe and I could say that Netanyahu and his criminal gang has just caught in the very trap they had set for Iran.
Your point well taken. So, Dr. Sajid, whether it's correct that despite of Iran not only announced to choke Strait of Hormuz, even when the parliament approved that and the Supreme Council ratified it, and it was under the demand of the European countries and particularly China to not to choke it for smooth trade and oil shipments, do you not think that if implemented would be a disaster, not only for Iran, entire Gulf region, Pakistan, China, and entire world, and whether that plan have actually shelved or intact and executed, if anything, God forbid, going to escalate in future?
I think this is one of the point to ponder upon, that in this interdependent world, you cannot just say that if there is conflict in Iran, or if there is conflict between Iran and Israel, and the rest of the world will not suffer.
Definitely.
Because if Iran closes this, you can say a Strait of Hormuz, it is going to affect some 25% oil, you can say, trade worldwide. And over the past 20 years, I was reading in a report that some 20 times Iran has said that we are going to close the Strait of Hormuz, but they have not operationalized it, and they have not acted upon it, which basically shows that Iran is a committed country to international cooperation. But unfortunately, the international anarchy that is being, you can say, carried out by Israel and the United States of America is ultimately pushing states to exercise such kind of things which can halt international cooperation. Because we have seen that, in the United Nations Charter, it gives, states access and permission to exercise their control over 12 nautical miles of their, you can say, shores. So Iran has this, you can say, legal, you can say, permission, or they have this right to actually close it. But I believe that Iran will not do so, because it is not only going to affect the United States or Israel, it is going to affect the whole world, particularly the GCC countries. So it was very positive from Iran that despite the approval from the parliament, they have not acted upon it, and they have shown that Iran is a committed international.
Definitely, because Iran
partner.
is considering the international law and the regional economy most vital for that, and even the Iranian economy is also dependent upon the Strait of Hormuz, no doubt about that. So, Mr. Baqeri, what's your analysis, because you are heading a think tank, and whether anything left for negotiations on Iran's nuclear program after Israel and US attacks, as Tehran was actually the part of the talks since approximately more than 2.5 decades, and including the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And those dialogues resulted in a comprehensive agreement, although Iran sacrificed a lot in that. Only acknowledged or accepted the 3.65% of the enriched uranium. Then, unfortunately, that 2015 agreement was sabotaged by the US President Donald Trump at that time. In 2018, he backed out of that agreement. But unfortunately now, when there was again a negotiation going on between US and Iran, although indirect, but the dialogue was there, and Iran was preferring the dialogue rather than to be the confrontation. Trump gone out of that again, just because that Israel imposed a war on Iran. And soon after, we have seen that US itself was the part of that attack happened at the 3 of the very vital nuclear installations of Iran. So how do you see overall aspect as the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency? He claimed that he has written a letter to the Foreign Minister Abbasi. So do you think that there is any room for negotiations, or Iran will opt for negotiations if or whenever it was facilitated, it would be facilitated?
First of all, we have to make it very clear, Iran has never left the negotiating table.
Yes, no doubt.
Just 2 days prior to the 6th round of indirect talks between United States and Islamic Republic of Iran in Muscat, Oman, Iran get hit by a surprise attack from Israel. And United States, the party who was supporting and promising the diplomacy and negotiating and inviting Iranians, Westkopf invited Iranians to Muscat for the 6th round. They were prior noticed that Israel going to hit. So this is the first thing to make clear. Second, when you come to the Mr. Gerussi, just after Mr. Gerussi's ambiguous kind of report that we are not sure whether Iran is going to make the atomic bomb or not, some signs are there, some signs are missing, then you have the resolution against Iran.
Although there were more than 15 visits still we have what we have the record. 15 visits were facilitated by Iran on its nuclear sites to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Then why Mr. Gerussi was of the opinion that there were 60% of the uranium enrichment, or more than that, or Iran is going to attain weapon-grade uranium? What kind of...
See, this is the reality. Who is talking about it? We are talking about a country that, according to the official statistics, have between 200 to 300 atomic bomb, who has never ever been under NPT rules, who have never ever allowed any inspection from their somehow hidden kind of...
You're talking about Israel?
Yeah, I'm talking about exactly the country who has breached all the agreements. He is now sending Gerussi to go and inspect. Let us now. Yesterday, when I was watching, there's a representative of Russian speech in United Nations. He was very clearly saying, Mr. Gerussi is looking for the 400 enriched uranium to send the inspectors to find its hideout and let the Israelis know where it is exactly so it can be bombed. This is the realities of the IAEA and the realities of all these so-called diplomacy. I believe Iran will stay in the table, but this time I hope so. The Iranians should understand that negotiation and diplomacy make no guarantee that your country would be safe and it can, just prevent for any further attack and aggression toward it. So I believe Iranians will continue their negotiation, but they will not have any slightest, decrease in their demand and the rightful nuclear rights that they are pursuing.
Definitely, that actually NPT gives you the right to have civil nuclear energy, agriculture, medicine, all that, what the peaceful use is actually permitted in that. Dr. Sajid, how do you see the continuous failure of international diplomacy, or these were actually deliberate towards the Islamic world particularly? I'm quote unquote, I'm talking about Islamic world. As we have witnessed that West pushing Iran to wall, playing with talks, International Atomic Energy Agency changing its stances despite several inspectors' visits to Iran, and keep encouraging illegitimate state of Israel through self-defense notion to attack wherever, whenever and whatsoever. So continuously supplying weapons to them, arming them despite the fact that Zionist regime actually continuously sabotaging the international law, international humanitarian law, the Geneva Convention and all other treaties available across the world in international system by attacking innocent Palestinians in Gaza and West Bank, sovereign states like Lebanon, Syria, even to Yemen and Iran, and pursuing its nefarious agenda of Greater Israel. You were talking earlier about the Greater Israel. So what type of international politics this is? What kind of diplomacy this is?
I think from international relations perspective, there are two theories which help us understand, this foreign policy behavior. Because you mentioned that it is specifically against the Islamic world. So this Samuel P. Huntington clash of civilization theory, which says that after the end of the Cold War, there will be a clash between the Western civilization and the Islamic civilization. So this can give us an insight that this whole episode of attacks and international interventions and aggression against the Islamic world is part of a greater policy which is inspired by you can say some theoretical policy. And another theory is, you can say, neo-colonialism, the theory of neo-colonialism, which says that colonialism, although in its old shape, has ended because states have got independence after the Second World War, but actually it has transformed into a new form, which is neo-imperialism or neo-colonialism. The international powers, particularly the Western powers, have created structure in such a way that the smaller countries are trapped into that structure, into that system. So any country which is not behaving as per that international structure is going to be, you can say, met with force. Like we can say Iran is, a very, you can say, proud nation which is doing so many things on its own without any international cooperation. So all those countries, previously, it was Muammar Gaddafi who was, we all know the results, then Saddam Hussein, and then in Afghanistan, the Taliban regime, the previous one from 1996 till 2000, and now Iran. So this shows that it is very, structural in nature, and it is not just random events, rather it is part of a greater plan.
It's a pre-planned agenda at which
exactly.
Right now the West is moving on. So when we are talking about particularly Mr. Baqeri, do you not think that there is another dimension of attack on Iran was actually the global stature of Iran right now, attained the last few years, it challenged Israel, the United States and even the European Union openly by standing with the two global powers like China and Russia. Now Russia has invested in Iran. It is assisting in nuclear program, particularly when you're talking about the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Russian scientists are working over there. The defense program as well. China has economic interests and billions of dollars agreements under the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. And Iran is an active member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, then BRICS, talking openly about the de-dollarization, which is going to be the core agenda and the key agenda of 17th BRICS Summit in Brazil this July this year. So how do you see overall aspect internationally because of Iran's stature is actually growing up and the Western powers wants to curtail it because that is challenging Israel?
See, it's a very good point to mention that. First, we have to see what is the real issue of United States, Israel and West with Iran. I believe even if tomorrow Iran agrees to dismantle all its nuclear capabilities, enter into negotiation with the United States, accept each and every terms of the United States regarding the nuclear capabilities, regarding dollarization, de-dollarization, whatever you call it. Again, Iran would not be safeguarded from aggression. The question is why? Because the core problem with the Islamic Republic of Iran is not technological nor economical. It's absolute ideological. Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran especially, they have resisted against Zionist atrocities. They have refused to legitimize Israel. They have refused to accept Israel as a state. and they are still they believe they are the occupying force. So
It is.
of course,
No doubt about that.
Of course. So till Iran accept and legitimize Israel, the aggression will continue. This is my firm belief on what is happening now, right now. So whether Iran accept all the terms and conditions, unless and until they accept Israel as a legitimate state, and they just turn a blind eye on the atrocities of the Zionist regime, Iran will face the same problem one after another by different, first they will start with this nuclear bomb, then if they surrender themselves, they then come to the human rights, then they come to the Islamic, rules and regulation, then they come to the freedom of the speech, then they come to the freedom of the woman, the hijab, and so on. It is not something that you can stop. But if Iran accepts the legitimacy of Israel today, I can 100% guarantee you that Israel and the United States will go a very far way to just provide whatever Iran needs. So the core issue is not the economy or politics, but ideology here.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Viewers, we have Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi with us. She is Ministerial Affairs expert. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Saira. Although we are just at the tip of our program right now, we are going to end. But what you think about, now we have kind of a ceasefire. Our experts are saying that it's kind of a truce rather than to be the ceasefire. And there are lots of fears by the West even that Israel is going to sabotage the ceasefire. And Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is also furious about Israel, and he has used first time ever a harsh language against Israel. Now the situation is even that the US CENTCOM has given a preliminary report that about Natanz, Fordo, and the Isfahan nuclear sites, the attack initiated by United States, which was clearly the breach of Iranian sovereignty and integrity. But that was happened, and in a preliminary or initial report, they are telling us that Iranian nuclear sites are still intact, despite they use B-2 bombers, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, but those were ineffective. Dr. Saira.
Thank you very much for having me at your show. First of all, we have discussed this thing many times during the Palestine-Israel issue, and we have seen, and this is the precedent that Israel has set, is that they have violated the ceasefire many times. So I think they have this habit of violating the ceasefire. So Iran should be very careful about the terms and conditions at the first place, and then the precedents that it has set. While talking about Iran's nuclear sites, there are very mixed, signals and reports that are coming from the United States and President Trump and the U.S. media itself. That what is the percentage of damage that they have been able to do that. So I think this has U.S. had many objectives in targeting Iranian nuclear weapons. First, of course, they wanted to show their commitment with Israel to be aligned with their strategic ally in the Middle East at the first place. Secondly, of course, the Zionist lobby inside the United States of America, so they wanted to be sure about to have stability at the domestic level also. And third, of course, they wanted to show their commitment to the nuclear non-proliferation commitment that United States rhetorically have been, discussing as their policy. So I think the United States at this time have also faced the backlash from the International Atomic Energy Agency, because when they said that the level of uranium enrichment by the Iranians not at the level they would be able to make the nuclear bomb. So,
quick question and a quick response, because we have run short of time. So, most of the experts across the world, they are of the opinion that this nuclear program of Iran is apparent target. They want to target it, but that is the apparent target. The real target is the regime change. Israel and even the United States and the West is working to challenge the ideology of the Muslim ideology in Iran. So do you agree that this is the case basically? Because we have heard a lot about regime change from the mouth of de facto Prime Minister of
totally
an
agree
illegitimate
with
state
you.
of Israel, Netanyahu.
I totally agree with you on this, that they want to have the regime change, pro-American and pro-Western and pro-Israeli regime. But at the same time, we have to see it in the context of broader geopolitical context also. Due to the sanctions and all that, they are now trying to, be more towards Russia and China, because they have been assisting military, economic, energy partnership. They are developing that. So I think the West is more concerned about Iranian falling into the hands of non-Western states, particularly Russia and China. So at first place, this is the concern, and second is, of course, pro-Western state Iran would be more feasible to serve the interests of America and the Western in the region. So that is definitely the case, the scenario where, and time and again, they have been, discussing their statements that they want a regime change, a less radical regime compared to what is in place in Iran right now.
Your point well taken. Thank you. Your point well taken. Dr. Sajid, very quickly and very brief. Do you not think that the Iranian devastating response against Israel has now created an opportunity for peace in Middle East? Do you think that it would be executed well with sincerity? Because there are lots of doubts when it comes to the illegitimate state of Israel.
Well, I think some 21 Palestinians are killed since last night after the ceasefire between Iran and Israel, unfortunately. This shows that Benjamin Netanyahu has this nervousness because he has to face this backlash from his own people and from the international community, that he had two strategic objectives from this war with Iran. One was the regime change, because from day one he started talking about the regime change in Iran. And another one was this, destroying Iran's nuclear strategic assets. And yesterday, the US intelligence report shows that, Iran's nuclear assets are safe. So both of the strategic objectives are not met by Israel. So now Benjamin Netanyahu will be, I think, he will be doing some more coercive measures against the defenseless Gazans, because they are the, you can say, soft target. But on the other hand, for some days, Israelis have also experienced homelessness, and they can now feel, I think, the pain of the Gazans as well. So if there is some domestic pressure against Benjamin Netanyahu, then there are chances that you can say some sort of peace be achieved in Gaza, which is...
I think so. There should be some sort of a litmus test from a perspective that Israelis must have to feel the pain, what they have inflicted upon the innocent Palestinians, particularly the people of Gaza. So one last question, Mr. Baqeri. Non-proliferation treaty, Article 4, give a clear-cut guarantee to Iran to have the peaceful uses of the nuclear program, as we are doing it, like in agriculture, in medicine, in cancer treatment, and particularly for energy generation. So why Iran is actually halted, or the West wants that Iran do not even get benefits from the nuclear energy, what Iran can, because that is the peaceful, that is clean, environment friendly, and moreover, it's cheaper rather than using the fossil fuels. So why Iran is basically curbed, that Iran don't have the right to do that, although Iran signed the NPT just because of this aspect?
Considering the shortage of time, just let me tell you one very clear answer to that. In Iran, a mullah, an ayatollah, what they call a supreme leader, and a person who is not a scientist, is defending the most critical scientific maneuver of Iranian scientists. See, it's a point to be taken.
No doubt.
He is not a scientist, but he has full-fledged, he accepted a war even, he accepted an aggression to just protect this nuclear, because I believe the Iranian establishment have very clearly understood the thousands benefits of having nuclear energy, nuclear enrichment, and whatever they are using it, whether for the nuclear medicine, whether they are using it for their, just demanding their energy and fulfilling the demand of their energy. But the problem is that once you grip over the enrichment of uranium to 60%, to take the medicine, to make out whatever you want, it is not a far-flung place to just enrich it to 90% and even to, make the atomic bomb. Iran accepted the NPT, accepted all the inspectors to make sure that we are not making the atomic bomb. If still, after all these efforts, you are hitting us, I believe now you are providing a very good reason to Islamic Republic of Iran to just make sure the next time no one has the bravery to attack Iran, they will go toward the atomic bomb.
Definitely. They are pushing Iran for that,
Exactly.
really. So thank you very much, Mr. Mohammad Hussain Baqeri, for being with us here all the way from Tehran. And you have all the best wishes for you. And we hope that
I
you will
have
come
one more
again.
sentence, if you
Yeah,
would
why
let
not?
me.
Why not, please?
I also express my sincere appreciation to the people, to the noble people of Pakistan, and to the wise and honorable government of Pakistan for such unwavering support of Iran in this very crucial time. I believe Iranians will never forget whose their friends and foes are these very critical moments. So thank you all once again.
No doubt about that. Iran is our brotherly country. We have the same history and culture with Iran, and we love Iran and Iranian nation a lot, whole of the Pakistani nation, and we have a lot more sincere sentiments for the Iranian nation. So we are all happy that Iran gone through a very critical time, but Iran is at the right side of the history, no doubt about that. And we congratulate even Iran, the brave Iranians and the Iranian forces that they have fought gallantly against the covert enemy. So thank you very much, Mr. Mohammad Hussain Baqeri, and thank you very much, Dr. Sajid Iqbal Khattak, for your presence here in the studios. So, but now here, as you have listened to our Iranian guest as well and to Dr. Sajid as well, it is very loud and clear that Iran actually defended its territory with bravery and whatever resources Iran has. At least 1,260 missiles Iran fired during this defense of its territory in 12 days of war with Israel. Unfortunately, US has played a very unfortunate role when it started bombarding Iran, 3 of the nuclear sites. That was very unfortunate, really. It is against international norms, against the IAEA protocols, even against the Non-Proliferation Treaty and all other international laws But it is important that 3 of the critical objectives, what United States might be or Israel has, definitely those were not achieved. Both or all 3 in Israel is completely failed in that. Particularly the Iranian nuclear sites, these are intact. There was no regime change in Iran. It is intact, even it is now stronger. Now, the third important is that they want to damage Iranian military, but it is there. Despite of that, they have sacrificed their scientists, the leaders, but that is there and getting more strength. At least 20 times Iran said that it is going to block the Strait of Hormuz, but Iran respected the international law and wants the trade must have to be smooth. That's why Iran not blocked that. Israel never allowed International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors even to its nuclear sites, particularly the different stockpiles Israel has of enriched uranium and also the nuclear weapons. But unfortunately, West is only looking towards the Islamic world, particularly Iran, because of the ideologies, not because of anything else, and not watching what brutal Israeli forces, its occupation regime, the illegitimate regime and illegitimate state of Israel is doing with the neighboring countries in Palestine, particularly in Gaza, and recently in Iran, that must have to be stopped for the long-term peace and stability in the region and across the world. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.